Hello, this is Professor Shannon Gracie. Today we will be covering special products, and as always we are working from Robert Blitzer's Introductory and Intermediate Algebra for College Students textbook, and we shall begin. So our goals today are to learn how to use FOIL and polynomial multiplication. As I said before, I consider FOIL more useful on a barbecue, but a lot of people like this method of multiplying two binomials, so I shall show it to you. Then we will be looking at multiplying the sum and difference of two terms, finding the square of a binomial sum, and the square of a binomial difference. So why don't we go ahead and warm up and see how we do. Pause the movie and warm it up. All right, let's see how you guys did. Here, remember that this is equivalent to x minus 1 times x minus 1. It's the quantity x minus 1 multiplied to itself 2 times. So, like we learned about yesterday, if we keep this guy fixed as a binomial and then distribute these through, we will get x times x minus 1 and then minus 1 times x minus 1. This gives us a result of x squared, x times x is x squared, minus 1x, and then minus 1x, and then plus 1. So just to keep track, this guy here ended up in that result, and this guy here ended up in this result. Okay. So moving right along, we end up with x squared minus 2x's plus 1. Okay, what I'd like to bring your attention to is that we ended up with a trinomial with 3 terms. We did not end up with x squared minus 1 squared, which I bet a lot of you guys might have done, something like that. So just be careful. Okay, so let's see what happens with this one. Again, keeping this guy fixed and distributing these terms throughout that binomial, we will get x times x plus 5 minus 5 times x plus 5. Distributing the x through, we will get x squared plus 5 times x minus 5 times x minus 25. So this here is represented by the x squared plus 5x, and over here we get the negative 5x minus 25. Combining like terms, do you see, we'll get x squared plus 0x's minus 25, which gives us a result of x squared minus 25. All right, so these are each things we're going to learn about today. Part A, this is the square of a binomial difference, and we will learn a formula for that, or a faster way to do it. And then part B, we use this all the time. This is the result, okay, is the difference of two squares, right? So that's a special product. Okay, so here we go. The product of two binomials using the FOIL method. F represents the product of the first terms in each binomial. O represents the product of the outside terms. I represents the product of the inside terms. And L represents the product of the last terms. Okay, so here we go using the FOIL method. You end up with first AX times CX. So those are your first terms. And then outside terms are the AX times the D. Inside terms would be the B times the CX. And the last terms would be the B times the D. So first, outside, inside, and last. Alright, so let's go ahead and get some practice using FOIL. Alright. So here we go. I'll do an example. So the first terms would be the 5x times the 3x. Okay. And then the outside terms would be the 5x times the 8. 8. And actually, you know what, I'm going to do it below because apparently I'm running out of room. Sorry about that. So here we go. 5x times 3x are the first. 5x times 8 are the outside. 3 times the 3x are the inside. And then the 3 times the 8 are the last. So then we will get 15x squared plus 40x's plus 9x's plus 24. And combining like terms, we get 15x squared plus 49x's plus 24. Okay. All right, and go ahead and pause the movie and try part B and see how you do. Okay, let's see how it went. So the first terms would be the x times the x. The outside terms would be plus the x times the 9. The inside terms, okay, see we're going to have a negative. So we'll have minus 10 times x. And the last terms, again, we'll have that negative 10 times the 9. So we'll get x squared plus 9x minus 10x minus 90, which is x squared minus 1x minus 90. All right. Okay, moving on to the product of the sum and difference of two terms. Now, I'm about to show you, some different stuff. And what I want you to, I'm going to be showing you the way for this section using the formulas. If you want to just expand it using the distributive law twice or FOIL, that's totally fine, okay? The main goal here is that you can multiply binomials, and if you need to do it without any special tricks like we're learning in this section, that is fine. But it's my job to show you, and I'll show you in the way of using these tricks. All right? So here we go. If you have a sum okay, of two terms, and then you have the same two terms, but it's a difference, you end up getting, just like we saw in example 1, or I apologize, in the warm-up, remember we had something like x minus 5 times x plus 5. It ended up being x squared minus 25. So here, this is going to end up being a squared minus b squared. So in words, the product of the sum and the difference of the same two terms is the square of the first minus the square of the second. So the trick here in using this formula is to make sure you're applying it to the right situation, and then you also need to identify, well, what is my A and what is my B? So here we go, right? We have x plus 4 times x minus 4. Do you see that these parentheses are the same except for the sign in the middle? So therefore, my A is going to be good. It's just x. And what's our B? Awesome. 4. So what we will get is A, which is an x squared, and then minus 4 squared, because that was our B. So here, that's the A. So in this case, we decided this was our A, right? And then the B was the 4. So we end up with x squared minus 16, and we're all done. Okay. All right, moving along to part B. What's our A in part B? Good, it's 3x, and B is 7y. All right, so this will be, now be careful, it's the whole quantity 3x being squared minus the whole quantity 7y being squared. So here's all our parts. Okay, so we will get, what are we going to get here? Is it going to be 3x squared minus 7y squared? No, it'll be 9x squared, because it's 3x times 3x minus 49y squared. And we're done. All right? Okay, so a lot of times students do really well with that situation. They're not quite as crazy about the square of a binomial sum and the square of a binomial difference. But like I said, you'll just have to decide what's best for you. So it turns out that the square of a binomial sum is, you have your first term squared, okay? And then we'll leave a space, plus the last term squared. But in the middle, you're going to get double the product of the ends. Okay. So the square of a binomial sum is the first term squared plus 2 times the product of the terms plus the last term squared. So again, it's important to identify what is our A, what's our B, and so we can apply the formula. So I'm going to go ahead and write it out again. A plus B, the quantity squared, equals A squared plus 2 times A times B plus B squared. Okay, so here we go. What is our A in this case? Good, A is X and B is 6. So this is going to be A squared, right? And then plus 2 times A times B plus B squared. So here's my A's and here's my B's. So then we'll get x squared. 2 times x times 6 would be plus 12x's plus 36. And we're done. Isn't that groovy? Okay. So next up, what's my A? Good. This time it's x squared. And B is 9. So here we'll have A squared plus 2 times A times B, then plus B squared. And then x squared squared, remember, is x to the 2 times 2, plus we'll get 18x squared plus 81, which gives us x to the 4th plus 18x squared plus 81. And we're all done. Okay. All right. And the last part of the lecture today is the square of a binomial difference. This is a good example of this one is warm-up 1, or the warm-up 1A, or part A, whatever it was. I guess it was A. Yes, warm-up A. Okay, so this is what we have. It's very similar to the square of a binomial sum, except we're going to have a minus in the middle. So this will be A squared minus 2 times A times B, and then plus B squared. So the square of a binomial difference is the first term squared minus 2 times the product of the terms plus the last term squared. Okay? So here, this is the A's and these are the B's. So what's our A in the first one? Good, 5x, and our B is y. So we will have 5x, the quantity squared, minus 2 times 5x times y, and then plus y squared. So this was our A. Whoops. And our B was the y. So let's see what we get. This will be 25x squared minus the 2 times 5 gives me 10, and then we just have x times y. We'll be covering that in 5.4 at length. And then we'll get y squared, and we're all done. Okay? All right, you try this last one. Pause the movie and give the last one a try. See how you do. All right, what is our A? Good, x cubed, and B is 11. Awesome. So this will be x cubed squared minus 2 times x cubed times 11 plus 11 squared. Here was our A and our B. Okay. So this will be careful, x to the 3 times 2. And then 2 times 11 gives us 22, and we have it times x cubed, and then plus 121. This gives us x to the 6th minus 22x cubed plus 121. And we are all done with this section. Nice short one for you. All right? Have a wonderful day. Bye.